Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Chris Bell. Welcome to the TVU webinar for today. It looks like the last of the stragglers are coming in, but it's 2 minutes past the top of the hour, so it seems like a good opportunity to start. So firstly, I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy. With the amount of online training that occurring at the moment, we understand your time is precious, and so thank you very much for taking some time to come join us. Today's webinar is going to be focusing very much on what's new on the TVU One product line of the family. As I said, my name is Chris Bell, and along with my colleague Matt McEwen, we'd like to introduce you to the newest iteration of the TVU One family and take you through some of the use cases and workflows made possible by these improvements. We're also joined today by Mr. Paul Shen, our CEO. He'll be happy to chime in with any technical questions that occur later in the presentation or anywhere else he can be useful. So with that, let us just take a quick look at the agenda for today. To tell the story effectively, a little bit of context is going to be helpful. And although the TVU One is a familiar platform to some, we're going to review its place in the TVU ecosystem briefly, and then build on that to showcase the new features and the workflows. We'll be looking at the 5G and 4K enhancements, as well as some of the underlying technologies enabling advanced workflows such as progressive download. And there's a lot of ground to cover. And we do want to keep things as succinct as possible. So we'll try and focus on narration more than the slides. And I promise to try really hard not to just read things to you. Overall, we should take about 40 minutes and there'll be an open Q&A at the end. So please drop any questions you may have into the Zoom chat and we'll address as many as we can. So with that, firstly, a little look back. TVU. Based out of the heart of Silicon Valley, Mountain View, California, for the last 10 years, TVU networks have been very much in the disruption business. We began in 2010 at the bleeding edge of using cellular networks as video transport and have been steadily evolving that technology over time as it disrupted an entire industry with a list of innovative firsts. In 2010, cellular news gathering technology was a novelty. Today, it's an industry standard and a range of options for field acquisition exist. From the bring your own device model of TVU Anywhere, our phone-based app, to the highly compact hardware of the TVU Nano, to the industry-leading TVU Pack, pulling bandwidth out of the air to transmit live video has become normal. In 2014, using the power of IS+, we did it again, launching TVU Grid for distribution of video, using IP across the open internet at any scale. TVU Grid is fast becoming the de facto standard for IP distribution, with thousands of nodes on all 6 continents, carrying millions of hours of video each year. Satellite and fiber distribution are giving way to the age of IP, and TVU Grid is at the forefront of that change. In 2018, we launched MediaMind, harnessing AI to transcribe, catalog, search, and make available any video that flows through the TVU ecosystem. Again, disrupting the business of media storage, search, and archive. And in 2020, we're at it again, with true virtual remote production solutions. TVU Producer and TVU Party Line, built and refined in the crucible of coronavirus. You can learn about any of these solutions from our website or the previous webinars. There have been a previous series of webinars over the last few weeks which cover these topics, but today we really are going to do a dive into our flagship hardware product, the TVU One. So I promised not to read you slides, and I'm going to keep that promise. But it is crucial to be aware that TVU is not just a pack company. The components of the TVU family fit together to form a media supply chain. Field acquisition, local ingest, live production, global scale distribution. These all form the ecosystem that is actively disrupting traditional methods of manufacturing video. So let's drill down on field acquisition. So as we look at this side of the family, we're going to focus on TVU Pack, the industry standard pack solution, but we can't ignore its siblings. TVU Anywhere on mobile devices, M-Link in vehicles, the small form factor nano range, they all form part of the product line, and these devices all have a similar mission: to encode video and get it home at the best quality possible over a potentially hostile network environment. And all the field products share a number of features in common. They all leverage TVU's deep knowledge of efficient video encoding and all use TVU's IS+ transport for the most dependable and low latency transport across a hostile network. And now the newest generation of TVU One is in service. TVU are very proud to announce the latest iteration of the TVU One family, the TVU One 4K. A true 4K P60 encoder with HDR and 10-bit 422 chroma subsampling. The new 4K platform delivers the highest resolutions and frame rates with eye-popping HDR color, giving you more details in bright scenes and more realistic and vibrant colors throughout. The color depth and frame rate make it ideal for capturing sporting events, or any application where the very best quality is essential. At 4K 60p, motion is captured and transmitted in amazing detail. The state-of-the-art encoder can transmit 4K at as little as 3 megabits per second, and the 60p frame rate ensures the very crispest video possible, even at bit rates as low as 3 megabits per second, ensuring that the highest quality transmissions are at the lowest latencies. TVU One 4K combines TVU's patented IS Plus and smart VBR technologies coupled with the most advanced hardware, 5G technology, extraordinary battery life, and its award-winning ease of operation and advanced features, versatile and aggressive aggregation technology, mean that the TVU One can always be depended upon to get the transmission home successfully, wherever you may find yourself. TVU One 4K HDR series. Part of the TVU encoder family, the TVU One 4K is the next step in mobile cellular performance. So now you know. So we've seen a new TVU One. So let's dive into a few of the physical details to begin with. So to start, it's easily the smallest of the encoders in its class. It's 50% smaller than its closest rival. It's the lightest in its class, 1.1 pounds without the battery, closer to 2 with, meaning the weight is one less thing for our overburdened photographers and video journalists to have to worry about. And all this is very useful if you plan to use it in the field or up a mountain, or if you're just a newly minted reporter struggling out the door with 40 pounds of camera, tripod, and a laptop. So why do I mention a mountain, and who is that guy with a mountain anyway? Thank you for asking. So just a few days ago, to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the first successful Everest expedition from the China side, and in the spirit of because we can, Huawei and China Mobile dragged a fiber optic data network up the side of Mount Everest with a mission to create the world's highest 5G network. Just stop and be amazed by that for a second. Gigabit Ethernet is now deployed on Everest. But deploying cable modems in tents is a bit of a pain. So China Mobile deployed 5G to make the network accessible. Last month, the network went live with base stations and 5G capabilities, 53, 58, and 6,500 meters. That's 21,000 feet. At the altitude of 5,300 meters, the 5G download speeds exceeded 1.6 gig, and the upload speeds were topping out at over 200 megabits per second. And so that's certainly enough to get a decent TVU pack transmission off. So what this event really needed was live coverage from Everest, at which point you enter the TVU pack. So now TVU have 4K 5G packs available, and the news agencies took them along with dedicated routers to forward camp and used them for extensive live coverage of events, doing multiple daily live hits on Everest using these packs. Now, even with the weight of the TVU One being what it is, summiting Everest is not something done lightly. Or perhaps better stated, it's done as lightly as possible. And who goes anywhere without their cell phone these days? And so the event culminated in a live broadcast from the summit via TVU Anywhere on a 5G Android phone. This is the TVU receiver taking the live shot from the summit, resulting in, and you'll have to forgive the audio quality on this one, it's a cell phone on top of Everest. I think allowances should be made. This is a TVU Anywhere live shot from the summit of Everest using 5G 2 days ago. Moderately extraordinary, I think. So size and weight, it's a meaningless measure unless you've got performance. But fortunately, the TVU One is a very capable platform. The newest generation of TVU packs are powered by the most current generation of and most powerful mobile silicon available, ensuring that the system always delivers the best H.265 quality at the lowest bit rates possible. This huge jump in technology means that 1080p can now be routinely attained at bit rates as low as 800 kilobits per second, and 4K 60p can be done at 3 megabits per second. So let's stop and think about that for a sec. Magical bandwidth out of the air is a thing we're all becoming accustomed to. The days of standing on one leg in a hotel room trying to get a signal, mostly behind us now. But that isn't to say you can get as much as you need anytime, anywhere. If that was possible, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Even if 5G delivers on its promises, it'll still be highly geographical in nature. And events don't always happen in convenient places. Breaking news, ski world championships, the summit of Everest, they're all inconveniently placed. And so the ability to achieve quality shots at bandwidths we'd have been very happy with in 2012 means only one thing for the users: more successful transmissions more of the time. And the combination of great hardware and the power of TVU's IS Plus technology ensures we get more quality more of the time. This slide is very wordy, and I don't expect you to absorb it all in real time, and honestly would prefer you didn't, because we've had too much PowerPoint going on here as it is. The key to TVU PAC's network performance is the underlying transport technology that powers our ability to move data across the open internet fast and effectively. The TVU IS Plus algorithm is the state-of-the-art in enabling this to happen. We know that data loss is going to happen, and so we anticipate how much there's going to be and correct it accordingly in real time. And at the same time, the video encoder is talking to the transport system. And so if something bad happens on the network, the encoder adapts dynamically to compensate. So what you're looking at here is IS Plus in action. So Ethernet, cellular, Wi-Fi, BGAN, Ka-band, SpaceX Starlink, 2 cups connected by a piece of string. IS Plus doesn't care. If it moves packets, TVU's IS Plus protocol will grab it, aggregate it, and use it. And all this happens dynamically without disrupting the ongoing mux. Links come, links go, conditions change, but IS Plus adapts. So in this slide, what you're actually looking at is a real-world example of an IS Plus road test, comparing the underlying network bandwidth with the performance of the transport. And as you can see, the various carriers, some at points, they just completely dropped out, and at points they spiked quite well. But overall, the quality of the mux was substantially higher than what you would have gotten from any single carrier. And it's that stability that's really the, excuse me, is really the key to what we're doing here. The practical upshot is you've got the most effective encoder technology on the market. And you've got the most reliable transport on the market. And don't take my word for it. Put as many products as you can into a vehicle, connect them all to one camera, turn them on, go for a drive, observe the results, and then give me a call when you're done. So sitting here bragging about stuff, I was looking for some authentication of the claims being made here. And so at 4:45 last Friday, just as we were going into live news time, I grabbed and sorted a report of the active live TVU PAC transmissions from my home state of North Carolina. And now, to be fair, I did sort it by lowest latency, but there is only one more page after this, and it looks kind of similar. What you see here is live transmissions at solid bit rates and second or sub-second latency for sustained periods, up to 45 minutes in this example right here. Pretty impressive. So what do we know? We know the TVU One is light. We know it's powerful. We know it's loaded with the best technology available today. We know it delivers live video in the best conditions possible to anywhere it needs to be. But the world is not all live video. Our photogs, reporters, VJs, they have an ever-expanding portfolio and an ever-reducing budget. So the TVU packs have always been loaded with features that don't often make the headlines, but make life much easier and more productive. And so we'll spend a few minutes giving them a time to shine. So the TVU One family's capacity to aggregate channels has only ever been limited by the physical radios and ports on the device. TVU One has 6 internal radios, 1 Wi-Fi, 1 Ethernet, and the potential for at least 4 other devices by USB. With a few tricks, you can do more. This could be multiple Ethernet connections, more cellular modems, multiple Wi-Fi connections, anything at all. And all TVU packs have always had the Wi-Fi capability specifically for connecting to local bandwidth. And you can add more via USB if desired. And this continues with the TVU Ones. As we covered earlier, IS Plus just does not care. The inbuilt hotspot. The hotspot has always been there primarily for access to the Swiss Army knife functions of the pack. You've got the ability to control the local settings, go live, stop live, change the parameters of the transmission. You've got access to the return video feed, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but that's a low latency stream from the receiver back to the field device, which you can then view on your mobile device through the hotspot. You've got the auto-sync file transfer. There's a tally function in there. All the file access is available. And of course, there's TVU router. TVU router we'll talk about in a moment. It's going to give you access to the full mux speeds of the device, not for transporting video, but purely for internet access use. We know the hotspot can cover a lot of functions on the pack, but the touchscreen is also there for a purpose. So the new TVU One 4K and the TVU One family in general are all getting a major UI overhaul, incorporating customer feedback. A new cleaner interface gives more insight and control to the field crews without having to reach for their phones. Personally, my favorite part of this, well, there's two favorites. One is this ability to be able to connect your device to the inbuilt hotspot by simply scanning the QR code. That's pretty cool. And now we actually have TV router performance data on the front UI. So you can actually see what's going on with your router connection, which is a serious quality of life improvement. That and the whole thing just looks cleaner and better than it did before. I'm looking forward to this one. So to mention router briefly, when we looked at link aggregation, we were looking at an actual road test of router. TVU router is an optional licensed feature built into the entire TVU One family. If you have a TVU One device or an M-Link, you have access to this product at the moment. So we're using the same IS Plus technology to maximize the available bandwidth, and we can use TVU router to pull magical internet capacity out of the sky. It works in parallel to the video capabilities, but a pack dedicated to TVU router can routinely exceed 200 megabits a second of usable bandwidth. And under good conditions, we've done significantly greater than that. So we're taking basically all the connections we have, aggregate them all together, and instead of dumping video out the other end, it hits a TVU cloud gateway, and that's your endpoint. So it's an incredibly versatile thing to have in your portfolio. So taking a quick look at accessories here. As we mentioned earlier, the TVU One's going to run for up to 4.5 hours on its internal battery pack, but gold mount and V mount versions of the backpack are available, allowing extended run times using industry standard batteries. The external batteries can be hot swapped for unlimited runtime, and the external will charge the internal, so you can keep these things running basically forever. In its V mount variant, TVU have taken the standard battery and added a twist, moving to USB-C for charging, making the battery packs more versatile than their industry predecessors.
TVU has recently released a line of ultra-portable external V-mount battery packs. Our goal was to make the lightest, smallest, and most flexible battery pack for TVU users. TVU One already has an onboard, removable lithium-ion battery pack that provides up to 4.5 hours of live use on the latest TVU packs. The all-new TVU Power Pack extends the life of a TVU One transmission indefinitely by allowing hot swap of the external power pack without interrupting the TVU One live transmission. During the hot swap period, power draw seamlessly switches to the onboard battery. When a power pack is mounted to the V-mount plate in the TVU One backpack, it not only powers the unit, but also charges the onboard battery. An easy-to-read display shows battery status. We also incorporated some important features, especially for field crews. The TVU Power Pack features a variety of USB connections, including USB-C, USB Micro, and USB Type-A. With this interface, it is not only possible to power TVU One, but also your accessories at the same time, including smartphones and laptops. The V-mount TVU Power Pack is available now in both 50 and 98 watt-hour versions.
Okay, so that's the new battery solution. Pretty exciting, that one. So let's talk about vehicle mounts for a second. For added flexibility, the TVU One family can also have external antenna connections. These are SMB push connects, which allows flexibility and rapid deployment into a situation such as a vehicle mount, where it's possible to take advantage of the presence of high quality external antennas. This is an option which is available now. It's reasonably widely deployed, certainly across North America at the moment. And there's a good ROI argument for this, because in this case you don't need a separate transmitter for both the vehicle and your field use. You just make best use of the resources you already have. Return video feed, another very popular feature. All the TVU Ones since the 8200 have had the ability for integrated remote video feedback. This allows any receiver with which the device is paired to serve as a high quality, low latency return video channel to the field. The video is available on a smart device via the hotspot or HDMI using the new accessory. Also new for 2020 is the new wired remote control / tally accessory, allowing single-click live stop with a tally indicator. This is now shipping with all new products and is available as an optional accessory to anybody who wants to have one. A small software patch is required if you've got a V1 or a V2 pack, but it's a very quick and simple operation support can assist you with.
We are pleased to announce the TVU One wired remote control. This device is designed to be mounted to the shoulder strap of the TVU One backpack and connects to and is powered by the USB port on the side of the unit. Once connected and enabled, it's possible to trigger live and stop live of the TVU One unit. There's also a tally light that indicates whether it's live or not. This unit will be included with all new TVU One shipments and also available as an accessory.
Okay, and with that, I will hand you over to my colleague, Mr. McEwen, who will take you through the 5G and some of the advanced workflow features of the TVU pack.
Thanks very much, Chris. So before we get to 5G, I want to talk a little bit first about dual encoding. So we can go to the next slide. So since day one, all TVU transmitter devices have had dual encoders. And what that means is that there's one encoder that's dedicated for live transmission. It's a VBR encoder. It adapts quickly to the changing network conditions that are available at that point in time. And every pack that we've shipped since back in 2010 has had this dual encoding function in it. But we also have this second encoder that is always running in the background. It's a CBR high quality recording that's recorded to the pack's internal SSD. And no matter whether you're live or not, you just have to have a SDI or HDMI camera connected. It's always going to be recording in a FIFO loop, a 7-hour FIFO loop. Since the very early days, we've been giving the access to that recording from the receiver side. So an operator at the receiver can access all recordings on an online pack. They can preview those recordings. They can elect to play them or download them to the local system. That capability's been there since day one. So go to the next slide, Chris. So one of the features we introduced a couple of years ago is called progressive download. And what progressive download allows you to do is it's really the quickest way to get recorded content from the field back to the studio for editing. So we've been talking a lot about live use early on in this presentation, but this is more of a file-based workflow. So what it does is, if I connect an SDI camera to the TVU One, and I'm just recording to the camera's own media, every time I hit that record button on the camera, TVU One's listening in the SDI stream for the record flag. And what it'll do is, as soon as you hit that record button, it's going to mark an endpoint on the recorded content on the pack that's happening simultaneously. As soon as that flag is detected, it's going to actually transfer the file that's recorded, the same content, the file that's recorded on the SSD on the pack, it's going to start transferring it to the receiver. Then if I hit stop on that button, it's going to mark on the record button on the camera, mark an out point, and then you're going to get a mirror image copy of what was recorded on the camera's own media transferred from the pack recording. And it does this transfer over the high-speed aggregated link, so it's very fast. So let's have a quick look at a video of that, Chris. When recording content in the field for later editing, the quickest and easiest way to transfer content back to the studio is to use TVU One's progressive download mode. TVU One is always encoding a high-quality CBR recording to the pack whenever a source is connected, whether you are live or not. When used with an SDI camera, progressive download monitors record flags in the SDI connection and creates markers on the TVU One recorded content. Every time the record button is pressed on the camera to start a recording or stop a recording, markers that match the camera's own recording are created. When not live, as soon as the record button is pressed on the SDI camera, TVU One transfers a file matching the camera's own recording perfectly, including source timecode, to the receiver via the high-speed aggregated link. This allows editing to begin back at the studio as soon as the content has been shot. The camera person does not have to change their workflow at all. They just need to record to the camera's own media, and TVU One automatically transfers a perfect mirror copy of what was recorded on the camera. Okay, great. So that's progressive download, and that's available to literally everyone who has the pack today, and it has been for some time. But it's a real handy feature. So on to 5G. So 5G is obviously being deployed worldwide, and we're happy to report that the latest TVU ones, the TM1000, can support up to a couple of 5G modems. So if we can just cut to the video, Chris. We are pleased to announce the availability of 5G embedded modems for the latest TVU One units. TVU has been working with leading embedded 5G modem manufacturers for some time on integrating modules into TVU One. These modules are true 5G, 3GPP Release 15 devices that will initially support 5G sub-6 GHz bands. The modules also support worldwide Cat22 LTE and 3G bands. The latest TVU ones will optionally support up to 2 5G modules alongside LTE modules. We started shipping these in Asia last month. We expect to begin shipments in the US later this year, but it's all dependent on module certification with individual carriers. So, you know, the nice thing about these modems is they can live alongside LTE modems as well. And one of the things we got to remember with 5G is that things got a lot more complicated, specifically in the antenna department. So, you know, where for many years for LTE upload, you know, we've been able to get away with 1 or 2 antennas. With 5G, we're now talking about a minimum of 3 antennas per modem. So, and that's just for the sub-6 gigahertz bands. When you get to millimeter wave, it gets a lot more complicated with active antennas and everything like this. And, you know, obviously when you just load a system up with a large number of antennas, and all those antennas are in close proximity to each other, you know, antenna performance can, you know, vary greatly. So, you know, we spend a lot of time developing our antenna design so that we can run a combination of, you know, 5G and LTE modems in the one enclosure without changing it drastically. So that's something that you'll see hitting the market here in the US pretty soon. We're hoping for the end of the year, but a lot of this, as we mentioned, depends on carrier and device certification with US carriers. Having said that, in Asia, particularly China and Korea, we're already beginning to ship these release 15 5G modems to customers, and they're using them on a daily basis, including Mount Everest, as we saw earlier. All right, Chris, next slide. So now let's talk a little bit about remote production and what you can do with TVU One. So about a year ago, we released a function called TVU Time Lock. And if some of you know our other products, we had another product called TVU RPS, which is our multi-channel wired remote production solution. But TVU Time Lock was also for remote production, but it used multiple TVU One packs, multiple TVU receivers, either single channel or dual channel, and all of them were synchronized together to give you a synchronized transmission, but not be tethered to an SDI cable. Every operator using a TVU One was free to roam without being tethered to a cable and do remote production using that setup. It was all controlled from, or it is all controlled from our TVU command center, where you can set up and set a single latency down to half a second for up to 6 packs, and you know, set them into time lock mode. They'll all go live at the same time. They'll all be synchronized. And the other thing that's nice about them is it will never drift. It will maintain that synchronization no matter how long you use it. So TVU Time Lock is already available And it's actually not even an additional service. It's part of the TVU One enterprise software package. So a lot of customers that are using this now are using it for things like a 2-camera on location morning show shoot or something like that. You just need your regular TVU One and your regular TVU receiver to use it. Okay, next slide, Chris. So on top of that, we're also introducing another new solution. We call it the Quad 3G SDI sync transmission. So what this does is it uses a external adapter that takes up to 4 1080p SDI sources. It muxes them together as one 4K 60 or 50p source, transmits them using the TVU One 4K over cellular at up to 100 megabits per second to a receiver that decodes it and demuxes it back to 4 1080p SDI signals. So let's have a quick look at a video on that, Chris. For the last couple of years, TVU has been the leader in remote production over commodity internet. TVU has multiple remote production solutions already being used by hundreds of customers around the world. These include TVU Producer, our cloud-based live video production tool, RPS, our 6-channel SDI fully frame synchronized remote production solution for wired network connections, and our time-lock solution, which allows transmission of up to 6 synchronized TVU pack streams for untethered cellular remote production. An additional remote production solution we are just bringing to market now allows up to 4 1080p SDI sources to be transmitted fully frame synchronized using an optional adapter and TVU One 4K. With this solution, it's possible to connect up to 4 1080p SDI cameras and transmit a low latency, synchronized transmission via cellular uplink to a TVU receiver. At the receiver, all 4 sources are output via SDI. TVU IS Plus and Smart VBR encoding ensure the best possible quality transmission via aggregated cellular at up to 100 megabits per second, allowing multi-camera remote production from virtually anywhere. By using a low-cost external adapter, it is possible to use any TVU One 4K as a single-channel or multi-channel transmitter without the added expense of dedicated hardware. So the one thing to mention about that really quickly is, and the reason we use this low-cost adapter is so that you can turn any TVU One 4K into a multi-channel remote production solution without the cost of investing in dedicated hardware. So one sub $1,000 interface can turn any pack into a remote production solution, which really adds to the flexibility. Chris, on to questions.
Sure thing. So we've got a few coming in here. Let's see where we want to start. So one question here, what is the maximum encode bitrate the TVU pack can sustain? I'll take that one, Matt.
Yeah, so right now out of the gate, the system is set to 10 megabits per second. That can be optionally increased. It's just dependent on the user, up to 20 megabits per second. But our 4K 60p solution can now do up to 100 megabits per second. Obviously, that allows for 10-bit HDR workflow, everything we talked about. Plenty of bandwidth to make sure you get the highest quality transmission.
Sure, thank you. So here's one which I think I'll take. What do you think of the prioritized service offerings that are being offered on the market? That's an interesting question. So the carriers over the last couple of years have been trying to push what they're trying to sell as an enhanced quality of service, prioritized traffic type service. And there is a degree of use to them. But the problem we're running into more and more is really it's about RF congestion. They can absolutely give you some QoS on the backhaul. You can build a sort of dedicated terrestrial network. And there's a few tricks they can do on the actual data transmission side from the device. Basically just trying to remove as much noise as possible. Not noise is the wrong word. Trying to remove as much data as possible so they suppress as much activity as they can on the device to just move the packets they really need. But honestly, there isn't a huge ROI on this stuff. I mean, it is available. We can offer it. Our practical experience suggests it isn't super useful. We've got enough experience now in highly congested environments, Super Bowls, Olympics, national conventions, protests and riots, that honestly at this point, I think it's better to rely on a robust mix of carriers. So you want at least two, well, you really want at least 3 of the carriers represented within your packs, and then leave IS Plus and H.265 to do the rest, because the percentile difference you'll actually get on the prioritized service, it's single digits at best in our testing experience thus far. Here's a progressive download question for you, Matt. Is progressive download part of a certain software package for PAC? Oh. Matt? Okay, we've lost Matt. We'll come back to that one.
Oh, sorry, I think I was muted. I apologize for that. So progressive download is available as part of the enterprise software package for TVU One, which most people, particularly in the US, are using, and most major broadcasters use the enterprise package. So there's no additional fee. It's already included. Support can get on the phone with you today and tell you how to use it. So that is something that's been shipping for more than a year now.
Okay, and here's another good one for you, Matt. As the product manager for the pack, do you plan to add more SDI inputs to the pack?
So no, I mean, at the moment, you know, we're trying to keep the pack small as possible, and that's where the solution we introduced, the quad 3G SDI function. That's why we've introduced that solution. So you can buy the latest TVU One 4K pack, and with a relatively low cost adapter, transmit up to 4 SDI signals using the same pack. So one day you could be using it for a 4K transmission, next day add this little adapter in line, and suddenly you have a 4-channel transmitter. Obviously, we don't want to you know, unnecessarily increase the cost of the hardware, and give people the flexibility to have, you know, multi-channel transmission on virtually any TVU pack. So that's our solution. Obviously, if you're using wide connections, there's also TVU RPS, which is a more for you know, a fixed installation or a fly pack that used a wired internet connection. That will encode up to 6 channels and 2 returns, all out of the same setup.
Thank you very much. Okay, so there's 2 questions here I think we can aggregate into one. One is, can you mix satellite, Wi-Fi, and cellular at the same time? And the other one being, will you support the new satellite IP bandwidth solutions such as SpaceX's Starlink? And the answer to that is a resounding yes. As I alluded to earlier, in the way the IS Plus algorithm works, it will mux pretty much anything. So provided it moves packets, we'll be able to aggregate it. Now, there are some ramifications for this if you have a very high latency link, such as a satellite, whereas the uplink time back down to the ground station and then finishing the trip, the latencies on that could be as high as 800, 900 milliseconds, sometimes over a second. Obviously, when you start to aggregate that with the much faster connections, you do have impacts on the latency. But can you mux them and blend them all together? Absolutely, you can. It doesn't matter what the solution is, whether it's an established one that's available or something that someone hasn't even invented yet. If it uses TCP/IP and UDP, if it moves packets, we can absolutely use it.
And in fact, we can also aggregate a single directional satellite feed. In fact, there are a lot of satellite feed. It's not bidirectional, and we can bring that bandwidth in and bundled with other bidirectional connectivity and create a much fast and reliable one direction communication.
Okay, one just coming. Could I have more information about IS Plus for using the ARJA SDI mixin to send 4 signal. Must I have a okay? So for the multi SDI input, does it require a receiver with 4 outputs?
No. So what that does is it just uses a TVU 4K receiver, and then you use a DMUX on the other end. So it's another just simple adapter that allows you to output 4 1080p signals. And I expect this function to grow as time goes along. I think this is going to be a popular feature.
Another good one for you, Matt. Do the modems support the worldwide LTE bands?
Yeah. So for some time we've been shipping a Cat 12 modem, which is able to work on pretty much all LTE bands around the world. It's sort of our standard. There's a couple of instances with different carriers where we've got to use a certified radio, but for the most part, any TVU pack that ships today has built-in support for worldwide bands.
Okay, thank you. Okay, couple more. I think time still permits. So it's about, can we do a rough edit on a TVU One? Paul, I think that's one for you.
Thank you. Yes. So one of the very important part of TVU is not only we have 2 encoders, which is one for live transmission, the other for recording. And anytime there's a video source, the system always recording the content in the internal storage. But one of the very important factor we can utilize this effectively is not only the internal recording is CBR much high quality, but it kept all the time code. What does that mean is it has the same time code reference to every individual frame, both for the live transmission and stored internally, and also what's on the camera. What that means, you can have a live transmission and you can receive the signal, and then later you can go back and retrieve exactly the clip you wanted. You don't have to retrieve everything. You only need a specific length of the clip you need for the production. Very high quality. You can even drop it into any of the proxy editing system for the rendering. So yes, it can do a kind of rough editing, but more importantly, as I mentioned, it gave you the same time code that matches with all different way of transmission. That's what's unique of the TVU products within the workflow. We always mention that one of the very important metadata is time code. And a lot of the product in the transmission side think, why time code? We just need a transmission. But we understand very well, without a time code, it's a very important metadata for the video. You have no way to easily do the proxy editing, easily retrieve the content you needed. So the basis actually is a time code, and which makes rough editing make a lot of sense. Chris?
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Okay, couple more. Matt, this one's right in your ballpark. In an RPS setup, what would you do if you require more than 6 sources for a live game or event? I know it's slightly on tangent, we're talking RPS rather than PAC, but more than 6 synchronized sources at the same time.
Yeah, so the nice part about it is a physical RPS encoder decoder supports up to 6 channels, but I can daisy chain multiple sets together. So if I wanted to add 12, I would just add 2 sets of encoders and decoders. And much like our time lock function, we can synchronize 2 sets of encoder decoder pairs together to get multiple channels. So that's probably the easiest way to do that with additional more than 6 inputs. The other thing to remember is that each pair can do up to 2 returns at the same time. So it's 6 primary and 2 return channels. So if you wanted to send dual return feeds to a commentator or something on site, you can do it that way.
Okay, thank you. And I think we've got time for one final question. Is it possible to pair one pack to multiple receivers at the same time without using TVU Grid? And the answer to that is essentially no. The whole purpose of the field acquisition gear is really to maximize the available bandwidth and the quality of a transmission in a point-to-point. because traditionally the point of origin has always been constrained in the amount of bandwidth available. So by design, the packs are mostly point-to-point devices, and then we would lean on something like TVU Grid to replicate and distribute that to as many possible destinations as you want, because that's gonna minimize the latency on the point-to-point and then allow widespread distribution. Now, it must be said, depending on the context of your questions, there are sometimes things that can be done, but broadly speaking, that would be the use case scenarios for these things. So I see we're just past 47 minutes in. I think unless there's more questions, I think I'd just like to thank everybody for their time and patience. We've had a great turnout today, so thank you very much. This entire webinar and any more questions that come in, we will wrap up and distribute to everybody who's been registered for the webinar later on. And if there are any questions, you can always find us, contact via the website, or you can talk to your local sales representative. We'll be very happy to work with you for anything you may require. And so, Paul, do you have any final words?
Thank you everyone participating in this. We are continue bringing innovations, and one of the important parts, the innovator, are you. And a lot of our products is really all of your feedbacks and made it happen. And we want to continue to hear from you. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you all. That completes the webinar for today.
Thank you very much.